Chapter 61. You are listening at novelfold.audio. Eternal Kaleidoscope. Improve your strength again. We shouldn't make any moves recently. After thinking for a while, the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen made the final decision. Danzo half closed his eyes, with a bit of coldness on his face. Save it until the night of genocide, and deal with it all at once. No, you don't have to. We don't need to worry about Uchiha Qianye anymore. The third generation said, don't care. Danzo frowned, are we just going to let him go? If he leaks our plan, do you know what kind of blow it will have on Konoha, me, and you? Have you ever thought about these consequences? Danzo couldn't understand why the third generation said such a thing. Cut the grass at its roots. How can you leave trouble for yourself? The third generation smiled bitterly and turned his head to look at Danzo. What's the point of thinking about it? Let's not talk about whether the man who claims to be Uchiha Madara will protect Uchiha Qianye after this battle. Even if he doesn't, can we really keep Uchiha Qianye? What price do we have to pay to keep Uchiha Qianye? Is it enough for you and the root organization? Danzo was stunned. Although he didn't want to admit it, sometimes he had to admit it. It's not enough, because he knew too well the strength of Uchiha Itachi, especially the eye technique of the Mangekyo 723 Sharingan, which made him very afraid. But Qianye was able to defeat Uchiha Itachi. His strength was even to the point that he felt unfathomable. He really didn't have the confidence to keep Uchiha Qianye. In this case, it would be better to sell a favor to the masked man. Maybe he would be useful in the future. It's decided, no need to say more. After the Sandai finished his last sentence, he waved his hand to signal them to leave. Several ninjas from the Umbu and Root organizations bowed and left. Danzo seemed to want to say something, but in the end he couldn't. He let out a long breath and left. After defeating Uchiha Itachi and feeling that the ninjas from the Root organization and the Umbu had all left, Qianye sat back on the bed. I guess no one will come to disturb me tonight. Although the battle just now was fierce and the noise was not too loud, it was definitely not small, but it did not alarm the guards outside. I guess the Umbu or the Root organization had set up the barrier in advance, which is why it happened. Otherwise, if this matter was publicized, Konoha would send people to assassinate the Uchiha clan, which would definitely cause a big disturbance. The Uchiha clan would also be on guard because of this. Today, when the night of the Uchiha clan extermination is approaching, this is something that neither the third Hokage nor Danzo wants to see. Rest for a night. Early the next morning, Qianye was practicing in the prison. Suddenly, he saw someone approaching. After a while, there was a rustling sound of footsteps and the sound of several people talking. Then, there was a loud noise, and the door of the cell where he was opened. Qianye looked forward. He saw that the people who came were the head of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Fugaku, and several high-ranking and core members of the Uchiha clan. Their faces were not good, and they were a little annoyed. Seeing these people come in, Qianye immediately stood up and said, "Head, yes." Fugaku nodded, signaling Qianye not to be so polite. "Qianye, was it okay to rest here yesterday?" "Not bad." Qianye replied, "Well, that's good. I'm sorry to have you stay here for the time being." Fugaku patted Qianye's shoulder and said calmly, "Humph, those bastards of Konoha, to put it bluntly, want to use Qianye's life to exchange for the peace of Konoha. How can such a good thing happen? Konoha has never considered our Uchiha clan as their own people, and is full of suspicion. Now, Qianye saved the daughter of the Hyuga clan leader, which should have been a great achievement, but he was sent to the people of Union village to take the blame. Chief, we cannot agree to this no matter what." A middle-aged ninja in his 30s said to Qianye Dao, "We, the Uchiha clan, will never let such a thing happen. Don't worry, Qianye, if we can't defeat us, we will fight to the death." "Damn it." A ninja said. However, Uchiha Fugaku didn't say much, but when he said that the net was broken and the fish died, a trace of pain flashed in his eyes unconsciously. He had experienced war and knew the cruelty of war. It was precisely because of this that he didn't want to see the war happen. It's easy to say to start a war, but it's just a matter of words. But the price will be a living life. Qianye thanked them one by one, and after a brief greeting, they all left. This made Qianye feel a strange emotion. he has always been very withdrawn and has no friends, but through this experience, he not only saw the decay and darkness of Konoha, but also saw many other different things, although young and immature, but willing to stand up and speak for him, Yuhi Kurenai, Asuma, Maui Yugao. To read the violent novel, go to Faloo Novel Network. There are also these Uchiha clan members who he is not familiar with at all, just because they are from the same clan, they are willing to pat their chests and assure him that they will stand on the same line with him. All this made him feel different. The night of the Uchiha clan extermination, Qianye muttered to himself. At the beginning, he only thought about how to survive this genocide, but as his strength continued to grow, he reached this point today, he already had the strength to survive this genocide night. This also made him have some different ideas in his mind. There are three choices in front of him. Either leave alone, with his current strength, as long as he wants to leave, no one in Konoha can stop him, or join the Akatsuki organization, he doesn't have to participate in the genocide night, and he has a good place to go, or, he will change the ending of the Uchiha being exterminated. Since Konoha can't accommodate the Uchiha clan, he will find a place that can accommodate the Uchiha clan. With the Uchiha clan's tyrannical strength, plus him, who has surpassed the ordinary shadow level powerhouses and is infinitely close to the super shadow level, no matter where he is, he can become a force that cannot be underestimated. Among these three options, the first and second are undoubtedly easier and safer. You can directly avoid the Uchiha genocide night and survive. After that, he would be able to travel alone, which would be more convenient and he would not have to worry too much. As for the last option, it was the most difficult. He would lead the Uchiha clan, which was already at a disadvantage and not well prepared, to fight against the masked man, Orochimaru, and the root organization of Uchiha Itachi and Danzo. They were well prepared and planned for a long time. Just for this night, Qianye can guarantee that he can survive this battle and be safe and sound, but how many people of the Uchiha clan can he take away? How to arrange it afterwards, and where should they go? After all, a person can be anywhere, but when it comes to the survival of a clan and hundreds of people, you need to use some brains, but doing so is not without any benefits. First of all, he can save the Uchiha clan in this tragedy of genocide, and his status and position in the Uchiha clan will rise steadily and quickly reach the top, just like Fugaku now, control the entire Uchiha clan. The Uchiha clan's powerful bloodline limit Sharingan gives them a unique advantage in battle. Whether it is single soldier combat or teamwork, it is better than ordinary ninjas. And this will be a great help to Qianye. Qianye knows clearly what will happen next. When the Ninja World War begins, the major ninja villages unite to fight against the Akatsuki organization and 100,000 white Zetsu. At this time, the powerful Uchiha clan will bring him a lot of help. Qianye carefully weighed in his heart, and he had to make his own choice. The time for the Uchiha clan extermination night is approaching. He has little time left to consider. After today, tomorrow night will be the night of clan extermination. He must make a choice in this day or so. In this way, time passed little by little. Finally, it was time for the fifth simulation. System, start simulation. Qianye said in a deep voice that the Uchiha clan extermination night simulation begins. Current solidified abilities, Otsutsuki physique, golden ability possesses super strong self-healing ability, comparable to immortality when in the extreme state, and can also absorb ninjutsu, and has almost unlimited chakra. Therefore, it is also called the immortal body. Would release, golden ability, a unique secret technique created by the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju. It is a kind of bloodline limit, which is composed of water and earth chakras. It is a ninjutsu that the caster uses his own chakra as the source of life. 80 God's Airstrike, golden ability, a type of bloodline net that maximizes chakra and transforms it into countless powerful punches, thus bringing an extremely powerful fist wind. Shake the sky with the immortal way, attack and defend at the same time, with a ruthless fist. Lord of Elements, golden ability when performing escape techniques, the power of ninjutsu is increased by 300%. Looking at the four golden abilities revealed, Qianye couldn't help but look forward to the fifth ability that was about to appear. Currently available abilities: Storm Release, Purple Ability, Crystal Release, Purple Ability, Chakra plus 10,000, Purple Ability. Qianye looked at them one by one, and soon his eyes flashed with a little surprise, but more of joy, because he saw a golden ability, the golden ability appeared directly in the first simulation, which had never been seen before. On the contrary, it was only refreshed at the last minute, and he had seen it twice, but he didn't think too much about it. Getting the golden ability in advance was a good thing for him. Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, golden ability in advanced version of the Mangekyo Sharingan. When used, it will not cause any impact on oneself. Chapter 62. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Now the roles are reversed. Eternal Mangekyo. Qianye's expression flashed, and his usually calm face showed a rare bit of joy. This is the Eternal Mangekyo. Originally, after getting the Mangekyo Sharingan, he was still thinking about how to evolve the Mangekyo Sharingan into the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Unexpectedly, he got it directly during the fifth simulation. It can be said that it was easy to get, after all. The requirements for evolving the Mangekyo Sharingan into the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan are very demanding. In addition to requiring both parties to have Mangekyo Sharingan, both parties must be direct relatives, just like Uchiha Sasuke and Uchiha Itachi. This also directly led to the fact that there are very few people who have the Mangekyo Sharingan. In the entire Naruto, only Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Sasuke have it, and now Qianye has also got it. Although he has would release and Otsutsuki physique, he can minimize the harm of using the Mangekyo Sharingan pupil technique to the body, but even if it is low, it does not mean that there is no harm. Dangers always exist, but they are not so obvious. Now that he has the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, he no longer has to worry about this problem and can use his Mangekyo Sharingan pupil technique without restraint. After selecting the golden ability Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, Qianye selected several abilities from it and prepared to enter the simulation. Otsutsuki physique, golden ability, would release, golden ability, 80 God's air attack, golden ability, Lord of Elements, golden ability, .26, Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Golden ability in advanced version of the Mangekyo Sharingan. When used, it will not cause any impact on oneself. Storm release, purple ability, a type of bloodline limit, generated by a mixture of lightning chakra and water chakra, combining the advantages of both water and lightning release. Crystal escape, purple ability, a type of bloodline limit, generated by mixing fire chakra and earth chakra, which can instantly crystallize any object except chakra. Chakra plus 10,000, purple ability greatly increases the total amount of chakra. 5 golds and 3 purples, an unprecedented and luxurious combination. Ability selection. The simulation system of the night of the Uchiha Genocide begins to simulate. With the appearance of a line of transparent text in the air, the scene around Qianye also changed. Under the dark night sky, Qianye stood on the Hokage rock. Beside him, there were 2 people standing. One was a masked man who claimed to be Uchiha Madara, the other was Uchiha Itachi. The 3 stood in a row, silent, looking at the quiet Konoha. In the end, will he choose to join the Akatsuki organization? Qianye pondered in his heart. The simulation just started, and he stood with the masked man and Uchiha Itachi. He knew what was going on without thinking too much. He let out a long breath and planned to continue the simulation. After all, it was a simulation, not real life. He still has a chance to start over. Let's go, it's time. After a while, the masked man said calmly. Itachi's expression was stern, and his whiteness was a little scary under the moonlight. He put on the mask that he had prepared long ago, and said nothing. Qianye, according to our previous agreement, you don't have to take action, but you must not stop it. After we finish our work, we will take you away from Konoha to meet my organization, Akatsuki. Before leaving, the masked man told Qianye again, yes. Qianye nodded and said nothing more. Then, a vortex suddenly appeared in the air, and Uchiha Itachi and the masked man gradually faded away until they disappeared completely. Qianye knew that the night of genocide had begun. This was a night of genocide that had nothing to do with him. Simulation successful. 4 words appeared in the air, showing the result of this simulation, the first simulation in history to end successfully. But Qianye didn't feel too much joy in his heart. He just felt that something was missing. It shouldn't be so easy. There was no real battle or fighting. As a bystander, he witnessed the whole process of the Uchiha clan's genocide. He also successfully spent the night of genocide, but is this really what he wanted? Qianye was a little uncertain, but he didn't think too much about it. Anyway, it's just a simulation, not reality. since it doesn't feel right this time, try a different approach in the next simulation. There will always be a right time, so, after solidifying the golden ability Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, he started the simulation again. This time, he's going to spend the night of genocide in a different way. The next day, at 12 noon, Qianye ended the simulation. This was the 5th simulation and also the last one. In this simulation, he obtained the golden power of the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, but more importantly, he made clear his choice and knew what he should do on the night of genocide. Just like that, night fell. Tonight is the night of genocide. In the dim and damp prison, Qianye, who was originally practicing, suddenly opened his eyes. At the same time, not far in front of him, a vortex slowly appeared. The masked man is coming. How about it? Have you thought it through? Join us, or die. The masked man's voice was majestic and steady with a hint of murderous intent. The last time, Qianye's battle with Itachi aroused his vigilance, but it was just vigilance. He still has an absolute trump card in his hand. In front of that trump card, no matter who you are, you will be killed instantly. He has this confidence. To read exciting novels, go to Faloo Novel Network. If Qianye can be used by him, he will definitely be a great help. If he doesn't listen, just kill him. Qianye looked calm, slowly stood up, looked at the masked man and said, I have made my choice. Die. But it's not me who will die, it's you who will die. Qianye's voice was calm, but full of confidence. The masked man was startled, as if he had never expected Qianye to refuse. In fact, this was exactly the case. In his opinion, one side was life, the other side was death. Qianye was a smart man, and a smart man should never make the wrong choice. However, since it has been done, let it be. Killing is good, very good. The masked man laughed. Uchiha Qianye, you are very brave, but you are too stupid. Instead of taking the way to live, you are taking the way to death. Life or death, you have to try to know. While speaking, a kunai appeared in Qianye's hand. Originally, after being detained in the guard team, the ninja would not have such weapons, but Qianye is different. Although he is detained in name, no one regards him as a prisoner. He just has to stay here temporarily due to the coercion of Konoha. Therefore, Qianye still has weapons on him. The masked man smiled. Although he was wearing a mask and his face could not be seen clearly, Qianye knew that he smiled. It was a contemptuous smile, as if to say, you actually want to fight with me. In this regard, Qianye did not say much, and appeared in front of the masked man in an instant, and stabbed with the kunai in his hand. But the masked man still did not dodge. Let the kunai pierce his chest. You can't kill me. The masked man's single eye was already glowing red. His Mangekyo Sharingan was activated. Kamui. Qianye stabbed into the air, followed by another punch. It looked like he had hit the target, but it was as if he had hit the air. It must be said that this kind of space-based ninjutsu is really a hooligan. He could turn his body into a virtual object at any time, fearless of any attack. He was naturally invincible, but this move might not be without flaws. Qianye launched a very fierce offensive. He used his fists, his feet, his knees, everything he could to fight with the masked man. Even though all his attacks were dodged by the masked man with Kamui, he still couldn't stop. As if he was tireless, he kept attacking, because he knew that although Kamui, as a space ninjutsu, was very abnormal, it also had a very obvious weakness, which was the duration of maintenance. The time the masked man could maintain his virtuality was limited, not endless. This time point was 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, the masked man had to return to being a physical entity, and within a certain period of time, his virtuality could no longer be used. In addition, when the masked man attacked, he also had to transform himself into an effective physical entity before he could launch an attack. Otherwise, he would pass directly through the opponent's body. This was also an opportunity for Qianye. Yes, therefore, Qianye chose a non-stop and extremely manic offensive from the very beginning, in order not to give the masked man even a chance to breathe. Let him always be in a state of using divine power. Only 5 minutes later, it will be his best chance. What advantage does the masked man have in front of him without divine power? In this way, Qianye attacked very fiercely, and even if every ruthless move fell on the air, he did not stop. At first, the masked man was still sneering in his heart. What a fool! He obviously knew it was useless, but he still acted like a reckless man. But slowly, he couldn't laugh anymore, because he used divine power. Half of the time had passed, but Qianye was still attacking. He wanted to withdraw and distance himself, but it was not that simple. Qianye had been clinging to him from the beginning, and he had no chance at all, but if this continued, the time of Kamui would be up. What to do? The masked man felt more and more uneasy. He had a very scary idea in his mind. Could it be that Uchiha Qianye knew the weakness of his Kamui? But impossible. How could this be possible? He had only fought with Qianye once, and it was a tentative move, so he couldn't take it seriously. How could Qianye master the secret of Kamui? This is absolutely impossible. Chapter 63. You are listening at NavelFull.audio. This place is just like home. Come when you want, leave when you want. However, at this point, no matter what the situation is, he can't just sit there and wait for death. He must seek change, and he must not let Kamui be unable to use it after 5 minutes, leaving himself in a weak state. So the masked man changed his previous attitude of letting Qianye attack, and also launched an attack, as a spacetime ninjutsu. Kamui's ability is definitely not just to virtualize the body and avoid the attack when the enemy's attack comes, it has other uses. Since he has the Mangekyo Sharingan, in order to realize his dream, he has been constantly improving his strength, especially when he used the Nine Tails to destroy Konoha last time. His fight with the 4th Hokage Minato Namikaze made him use Kamui to a whole new stage. It is no exaggeration to say that he is much stronger now than when he used the Nine Tails to attack Konoha. And this is the first time since then that he has really fought with someone. Qianye is still tirelessly launching an offensive. At the same time, he is also calculating the time in his heart. From the beginning to now, almost 3 minutes have passed. That is to say, in just 2 minutes, the masked man will have to exit the Shinwei virtual mode and become a complete entity, and this period of time will also be his best chance to defeat the masked man. He swung the kunai in his hand, pierced through the masked man's forehead, and punched the masked man's heart with a fierce punch. At this moment, the masked man moved. He grabbed Qianye's wrist holding the kunai with one hand, and took advantage of Qianye's fist to pierce his chest with the other hand, and directly turned on the virtualization. A vortex suddenly appeared in the air. At the same time, the masked man and Qianye's body began to virtualize at the same time. Qianye's mind moved. Is this going to bring him into the Shinwei space? This is not possible. The Shinwei space is the territory of the masked man. There, the masked man can come and go at will, but Qianye is different. Once he enters, it is equivalent to being imprisoned, and he can't get out even if he wants to. He is completely controlled by the masked man. However, the masked man did this not without any cost. In fact, the cost of doing so is not small. That is, when the masked man uses Kamui again, part of his hollow body will be transformed into a physical entity and appear in the Kamui space. At this time, as long as Qianye wants, he can take the opportunity to launch an attack. It is even possible to directly kill the masked man. Therefore, the masked man will not keep Qianye here all the time. There will always be a day to release him. However, if the night of genocide is over on the day he is released, then what is the point of his commotion? It would be easier and more enjoyable to join Akatsuki directly. Therefore, he must not be sucked into the Kamui space. Qianye's foot lightly tapped, and the whole person jumped into the air, kicking the masked man's stomach fiercely. When the masked man launches an attack, his main body cannot remain in a hollow state. In other words, the masked man is now a physical entity. If he kicks, it is a real kick. He will not be dodged by the Kamui's hollow like before, and with Qianye's current physical skills, under the strengthening of the Otsutsuki physique, his kick is not light. Even if the masked man is a shadow-level strongman, he will be seriously injured. The masked man thought he had a sure win. After all, it took a very short time for his Kamui to absorb people into the Kamui space. When ordinary people see this situation, they will be shocked and at a loss for a while. When they fully react, they have already entered the Kamui space. At this time, even if they think of what to do, it is too late. But Qianye is obviously different. In such a short time, he immediately reacted and fought back. He had to give up continuing to absorb Qianye's body and use Kamui to virtualize his body again. After all, he knew Qianye's physical skills. Wasn't Kuroki Raiga, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, killed by this super physical skill? He didn't want to use his own body to test whether he could withstand this blow. As the masked man's body became virtual, the wrists and fists that were originally held by the masked man loosened. Qianye's kick missed. The masked man took this opportunity to use the instant body technique to distance himself from Qianye. You, very good. The masked man said in a deep voice. He had thought about the scene when he fought against Qianye. He also had some estimates of Qianye's strength. He thought that he had overestimated Qianye enough, but he didn't expect that he still underestimated it. Qianye is simply the strongest person he has met after the fourth generation Hokage Namikaze Minato. Even to some extent, Qianye is even more mysterious than Namikaze Minato. After all, although the fourth generation Hokage is very strong, he actually knows it very well. What kind of ninjutsu he knows and what trump cards he has, he knows it in his heart, but Qianye is different. It seems that he will give him a different feeling every time. If you have to use a word to describe it, it is unfathomable. It's really terrible. The masked man who is used to controlling everything behind the scenes is obviously unwilling to fight in person, especially facing such a difficult opponent, let alone whether he can win. Even if he is a little embarrassed, it is not appropriate. After all, the one he loves now is Uchiha Madara. The novel was taken from the Thrala's website. Close where you're reading it and support us on our website for more free novels. Uchiha Madara will not be so embarrassed. So, the masked man sneered and directly used Kamui to transfer himself out. As for what Qianye will do, someone will take care of it. Konoha will never watch such a powerful Uchiha escape. To read the exciting novel, go to Faloo Novel Network. Gone. Qianye was a little disappointed. I was thinking about a big battle, but he just left. It's really boring. He walked towards the iron door of the prison. Since the masked man has left, there is no need for him to stay here. It's late now, and I think the night of genocide has begun. He has to hurry up and save people, save more Uchiha people and cultivate them into his own force. This is the most difficult way. But this is the choice Qianye made. Would release Sea of Trees birth. Qianye directly performed this would release secret technique. On the ground, trees rose up from the ground in an instant, growing rapidly and becoming tall and straight trees. The prison where Qianye was originally imprisoned was penetrated by the trees and overturned. Even the entire Konoha guard department was instantly destroyed and turned into ruins. Such a situation not only occurred around Qianye. The entire Uchiha clan settlement had undergone such a drastic change and became a sea of forests. Uchiha Itachi, who had been secretly harvesting lives in the dark and windy night with no one on guard, saw this situation and knew that something must have happened, and he couldn't help but frowned. Such a ninjutsu would make too much noise and would definitely wake up all the people of the Uchiha clan. Things became even more troublesome. What happened? Danzo and the ninjas of the Root organization also came from afar. They had solemn and puzzled expressions on their faces. Obviously, such a thing happened, which was completely beyond their expectations. Uchiha Itachi shook his head, indicating that he didn't know. It was obvious that such a thing happened not long after the mission started. It was really shocking. And this was just the beginning of their surprise. The forest completely covered the entire Uchiha clan settlement and destroyed everything of the Uchiha clan. At the same time, it also awakened all the surviving members of the Uchiha clan. But before they could react to what happened, vines and trees had already entangled with them and took them away. Of course, these leaders were not completely taken away by force. Although Qianye has this ability, he has no this is necessary, he just wants to protect those who have no power to resist first. As for those who can avoid the vines, they are almost all the backbone and elites of the Uchiha clan. Unless they encounter Kage-level strongmen like Uchiha Itachi and the Masked Man, other ninjas such as the Root organization cannot stop them. The Uchiha clan has undergone a huge change, and people's shouts and cries rang out for a while. People chased in the direction of the people who were swept away by the vines and branches. Danzo finally reacted. All their deployments were disrupted, probably just to destroy their chance this time. He also remembered what kind of ninjutsu this was. Would release Sea of Trees. It was would release. Danzo almost roared in his heart. How could there be someone in this world who could use would release? Who is he? Chase. Danzo said solemnly. The ninjas of the Root organization nearby took the order and used the instant body technique to chase after him. However, Itachi remained where he was. Danzo looked in the direction of Itachi, and his face changed instantly, because he suddenly found that not far from Itachi, not far from where they had just stood, there was an extra person who had appeared at some point. Moreover, He knew this person, the patriarch of the Uchiha clan, Itachi Uchiha's father, Uchiha Fugaku. Fugaku's eyes were filled with a blood-red light, and the three magatama in his pupils were like sickles, connected to each other end-to-end Mangekyo Sharingan. Danzo's face turned ugly. All along, he had never underestimated Uchiha Fugaku, because he had long known that Uchiha Fugaku had awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan, and his strength had reached the level of Kage, making him the most difficult person in the entire Uchiha clan. But he still didn't expect that Uchiha Fugaku had reached this point. He appeared beside them silently, without being discovered by anyone. Doesn't this mean that as long as Fugaku wanted, he could take his life quietly? Danzo couldn't help but feel a cool breeze on his neck, whistling in the wind. You go, leave this to me. Uchiha Itachi faced his father and said to Danzo indifferently. Danzo looked at Uchiha Fugaku, then at Uchiha Itachi, and finally nodded. Then he disappeared from the spot with a flashing body technique. Chapter 64. You are listening at NaNoFull.audio. A total wipe. On the other side, under Qianye's would release ninjutsu Sea of Trees, a large number of Uchiha clan members were brought to the place that originally belonged to the Konoha guard. The rest of the people also followed the track of the vines and branches to come here. However, at this time, the guard department had completely turned into a ruin, no longer what it used to be. After bringing the people over, Qianye took back all the vines and branches, let them gather together again. The Uchiha clan members encountered a sudden change, but fortunately nothing happened. The family gathered together again, and saw that the original Konoha guard department, and even the entire Uchiha clan settlement had become like this. Their faces changed drastically, and they were surprised beyond words. Oh my God, what happened? It turned out to be like this. It's Qianye. Soon, someone noticed Uchiha Qianye standing in the dense woods like a god, and they were surprised. The Uchiha clan had undergone a huge change. After seeing Qianye's current state, could it be that all this was done by Uchiha Qianye? Qianye, what's going on? What do you want to do? Is this your fault? You must give us an explanation. Aren't you supposed to be locked up in jail? Why did you suddenly come out? What on earth do you want to do? The Uchiha clan members questioned. Their families were taken away like this, and they all lost their minds, and their tone was not friendly. If they hadn't seen that Qianye didn't hurt their families, they would have been ready to fight to the death. Qianye didn't care about these. It was just human nature. He said lightly, you shouldn't ask me. If not you, who should I ask? Someone from the Uchiha clan asked. Of course, ask them. 907. Qianye pointed straight ahead. The Uchiha people were a little confused, but they still looked back subconsciously. They just saw the root organization ninjas who obeyed Danzo's orders coming from a distance. They were originally ordered by Danzo to hunt down the Uchiha clan, but now, all the Uchiha clan members have gathered together. How can they kill them? Everyone knows that the Uchiha clan with the Sharingan is very powerful. There are more people than them. Kill. Isn't this courting death? The Uchiha clan was also a little confused about the situation. They thought that it was because of the great changes in the Uchiha clan that attracted the attention of Konoha, so they came to investigate, but soon, they found that something was wrong, because Qianye took action. In would release Sea of Trees, any tree, branch and leaf is an extension of Qianye. He can control everything. I also felt everything. Not long after the ninjas of the root organization appeared, Qianye took direct and decisive action. Vines, branches and leaves extended and entangled one by one. Their speed and strength were far beyond what they had done to the Uchiha clan before. They were like a dragnet, spreading in all directions towards the ninjas of the root organization. Nearly 100 ninjas of the root organization were terrified, standing back to back, resisting. They had never seen or heard of such a level of ninjutsu, and it had completely exceeded their imagination. It was really terrifying. Vines moved up and down like nimble giant pythons, with amazing power. Once entangled, the whole person could not move, and completely lost the power to resist. There were quite a few of them, but compared to the vines and branches everywhere, they were still too few. CGBJ, Fire Style Phoenix Fire Technique. Wind Escape Wind Killing Formation. Water Style Water Wave. At one time, all the ninjas of the root organization began to perform ninjutsu to fight against the vines in all directions. Nearly 100 elite ninjas of the Jonin level performed ninjutsu at the same time. The power they could burst out was so strong that even ordinary shadow level masters could only temporarily avoid the edge and had to give in, but Qianye is not comparable to ordinary shadow level masters. He has obtained 5 golden abilities in succession. Now he has already surpassed ordinary shadow level masters and is approaching the super shadow level. As for how far he is from the super shadow, he is not sure. Maybe he will only know when he encounters a super shadow level opponent. These nearly 100-inch root organization ninjas performed ninjutsu. Under the originally dark night sky, all kinds of lights suddenly lit up. The branches, vines, and trees under Qianye's control were constantly destroyed and broken. However, as soon as the first batch was destroyed, the next batch had already rushed over, as if it would never end, and the later the batch, the more difficult it is to destroy, and the stronger the toughness. After a short while, the area where the hundreds of ninjas from the root organization stood began to slowly shrink. They could no longer stop the vines and branches that kept spreading and never stopped. They could only be forced to narrow the area. The people from the Uchiha clan on the side were stunned. They had never thought that Uchiha Qianye, who had always been taciturn and didn't like to get along with others, had reached this level. It was really amazing. There were nearly 100 elite jonin. They were played around like this, without any resistance. They could only be forced to wait for death. They believed that they were far from being able to do this. Clan leader, can Uchiha Fugaku do it? Can the third generation of Hokage do it? Just as they were amazed at Qianye's magical means, the war of attrition between Qianye and nearly 100 ninjas from the root organization was also coming to an end. At the beginning, these ninjas could still rely on ninjutsu to fight back, but slowly, as their own chakras were constantly consumed, they finally couldn't resist and were defeated. Qianye used vines and branches to wrap and tie them up one by one. To read the exciting novels, go to Faloo Novel Network. Then he exerted force suddenly. Only bursts of extremely shrill screams were heard. In a short moment, countless ninjas of the root organization were torn to pieces by the tough vines all over their bodies. Gorgeous blood flowers splashed in the air. Nearly 100 people died in front of them. In addition to the initial surprise, the eyes of the Uchiha clan members also had some fear of Uchiha Qianye, especially some children and women present. These people who had never seen the bloody scenes of war were even more scared, some of them with poor psychological quality. Trembled all over and cried out. At this time, they forgot that it was Qianye who led them here, forgot what it meant that so many ninjas of the root organization were killed by the Uchiha clan. Only fear remained in their hearts. Subconsciously, they stayed away from Qianye. Qianye still looked calm. In the simulation, he had seen this extremely bloody scene more than once. A vine slowly extended, carrying a struggling ninja to Qianye's front. At this time, the Uchiha clan discovered that Qianye had not killed everyone just now, and there was still one alive. Someone knew that this ninja had been with Danzo for many years and was a ninja that Danzo relied on very much. Tell me what Danzo told you to do. Qianye looked at the ninja and said indifferently. The ninja snorted coldly and said stubbornly, "You are dreaming. I won't say anything." "Oh." Qianye chuckled, "You have no say in this." As soon as he finished speaking, a blood-red light shone in his eyes. It was not the final form of the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, but the ordinary 3 Magatama Sharingan. Until the most critical moment, he still hopes to hide his trump card. The ninja saw the red light in Qianye's eyes and knew what Qianye wanted to do. After all, the illusion of the Uchiha clan was too much. He quickly closed his eyes and lowered his head, but it was too late. He was caught in Qianye's illusion. "It's okay, open your eyes." Somehow, Danzo's voice suddenly appeared in his ears, as cold and emotionless as usual. It was frightening. However, he did not open his eyes, because he knew that all this was fake. Although he was in an illusion, his consciousness was still there, and he knew what kind of situation he was in. All this was fake. He must not be fooled. He must not. But slowly, he began to have a headache, and the whole person was groggy. He didn't know what was wrong with him. He just felt very tired, extremely tired. Finally, he couldn't help it and fell asleep. When he woke up, he was in a dim room. After seeing the surrounding environment clearly, he jumped up quickly, because he recognized where he was. This was Danzo's room. In front of him, Danzo was facing away from him. "You woke up. I deserve to die." The ninja admitted his mistake. Damn it, he actually fell asleep in the leader's place. Didn't he know how to write the word death? He was extremely nervous and just hoped that Danzo would be kind enough to let him go, although he knew clearly that with Danzo's temper, it would be difficult to let him go, but to his surprise, this leader, who was known for his strictness, didn't seem to have any intention of pursuing him. It's okay, you're just sleepy, just take a rest. How are you now? Everything is fine now. Although he heard Danzo say this, the man still did not dare to relax. Their leader's thoughts were the most difficult to figure out. That's good. Danzo said calmly, tonight, our mission will be carried out. This mission is of great importance and no mistakes can be made. Are you ready? Tonight? The ninja felt something was wrong because he couldn't remember the date at all. Have you forgotten? Danzo's voice became colder. No, how dare I forget such an important matter, the ninja said hurriedly. At this time, even if he couldn't remember, he could only say that he remembered, otherwise, wouldn't that be seeking death? Danzo said coldly, then what do you say the mission is? Task. The ninja felt a splitting headache again, and a voice in his heart strongly stopped him from speaking out. Chapter 65. You are listening at NaNoFull.audio. Inciting the Uchiha clan. Is there any problem? Danzo asked with half-closed eyes. No. The ninja shook his head, wondering what happened to him. This situation has never happened before, he said. Tonight's plan is the night of the Uchiha clan extermination. Rest assured, Chief. I will complete the mission and guard every exit to ensure that no fish slips through the net. Good. Very good. The captain nodded with great satisfaction. When the ninja saw Danzo's expression, the stone in his heart finally fell. At least he didn't cause any trouble. However, in the next second, the environment around him changed drastically. The originally dim room turned into a dense forest. Danzo, who was originally standing in front of him, also turned into a very young face. Uchiha Qianye. Damn it! The ninja's expression changed drastically. At this point, he didn't know that he had made a big mistake, revealing all the secrets of the root organization. At this time, all the Uchiha clan members below Chu-D heard the conversation between Qianye and the root ninja. He knew why the root ninja suddenly came here. He also knew why Qianye wanted to lead them all here. He didn't want to harm them, but wanted to save them. What a bunch of bastards. Someone from the Uchiha clan couldn't help but gritted his teeth and said, at most, they just wanted to rebel and kill Danzo, who was always against the Uchiha clan, so as to gain reasonable treatment and power, but what Danzo wanted was to annihilate the clan. What a cruel heart. Qianye used chakra to control the vines and directly tore the last remaining ninja into pieces. Then, looking at the Uchiha clan members below, he said, you all heard what he said, right? Our Uchiha clan and the Senju clan jointly founded Konoha, which is one of Konoha's greatest contributions. But what kind of treatment have we received for so long? We were driven away from the village and rejected by everyone in Konoha. Now they want to kill us all. What do you think we should do now? Kill Danzo. I recognize that these are all ninjas from Danzo's root organization. This is all Danzo's conspiracy. We must kill Danzo. Yes. Kill Danzo. Kill Danzo. Kill Danzo. Everyone in the Uchiha clan was very angry and pointed their spearheads at Danzo. Qianye said, well, Danzo really deserves to die. But if you want to do such a big thing, it's not enough to rely on Danzo alone. Danzo's status is not enough? Could the person Qianye is talking about be the third Hokage? There are many smart people present, and they quickly thought of the key point. Such a big thing can't be concealed. Since Danzo dared to take action, he must have obtained the consent of the third Hokage. This is almost certain. But, in their hearts, the image of the third Hokage is not too bad. Unexpectedly, behind this dirty thing, there is also his shadow. He seems kind and generous, but he is so dark. He actually wants to exterminate the entire Uchiha clan. Revenge. We want revenge. If Konoha dares to do this to us, we will fight them. The Uchiha clan, who knew the truth, were furious, and the anger in their hearts was burning. it's too early to take revenge, that the Uchiha clan has encountered a sudden change and is not fully prepared. Revenge now is just courting death. Qianye's voice was not loud, but as he spoke, the originally noisy Uchiha clan became quiet. After experiencing such a thing, all of them owed Qianye a life. Although Qianye was young and had not had a high prestige in the Uchiha clan, he showed super strength this time. The strength that made all of them dumbfounded and stunned. This also made them subconsciously regard Qianye as the backbone, the existence who could lead them to revenge. What are you afraid of? Just die. I just can't swallow this anger. Let's fight to the death. Net or death. Qianye's words seemed unable to extinguish the anger of the Uchiha clan. What a bunch of reckless men, no wonder they have been played around by the people of Konoha. Qianye said, you are not afraid of death, but what about your wives and children, parents? Do you want them to be buried with you? Everyone has a soft spot in their heart, especially for those who are extremely angry and only want to fight to the death. You must find something that he cares about so that he can't bear to die, and family members are often the ones that everyone can't let go of. This. Several radical Uchiha clan members were stunned. They subconsciously looked in the direction of their wives and children. Once they saw them, they couldn't bear to leave. They were still young, had wives, sons, and parents. So how could they be so determined to die? Qianye, what do you think we should do now? Someone asked Qianye from below. Qianye looked calm. He had already made the best preparations and plans when he was simulating. He was just waiting for this step to come. Walk. Since Konoha can't accommodate us, we will leave Konoha and go somewhere else. To read the exciting novels, go to Faloo Novel Network. The world is so big, there must be a place for our Uchiha clan to stay. We can choose a place to live, where no one will exclude us, and we don't have to look at other people's faces. Everything is decided by us Uchiha people ourselves. Here, Qianye did not mention revenge. After all, he saved the Uchiha people because he wanted to turn them into his own strength and use them for his own benefit, and he knew clearly that the original Uchiha clan was not Konoha's opponent. What's more, the Uchiha clan has suffered a lot of damage now. If they really fight, they have no chance of winning, they are just looking for death. And the Uchiha people below did not deliberately ask this. After Qianye's request, they already understood that those who are still by their side are far more important than those who have lost. No one objected. Okay, Qianye, we will listen to you and leave Konoha. Let's go. Qianye nodded, but did not move, still standing there. Qianye, is there anything else? Someone asked. If you want to leave, I'm afraid it's not that easy. Qianye narrowed his eyes and focused his sight on a place in the dark forest. You've been watching for so long, why don't you come out? Humph. A cold snort was heard, then a figure walked out of the dark woods. Danzo. Following closely behind, a transparent vortex quietly appeared in the air. The masked man slowly emerged from it. Standing next to the masked man was Orochimaru. 3 Kage-level strongmen appeared at the same time. When the Uchiha clan saw Danzo, the anger that had been extinguished was ignited in an instant. Danzo, you bastard. The enemy who wanted to exterminate them was right in front of them. How could they hold back? They shouted and rushed forward to take revenge. However, before they could make a move, they were stopped by Qianye's vines. Back off, you are no match for him. But, some radical Uchiha clan members were still a little dissatisfied, but seeing Qianye's calm expression, they retreated somehow. The masked man, Danzo, and Orochimaru, 3 Kage-level strongmen, stood in front of Qianye. This also made their attitude clear. If you want to leave, you have to pass them. However, Qianye still did not look at them, but turned his head to look somewhere in the darkness, and said, since you are here, why don't you come out and show your face? Third generation. Hearing these 2 words, everyone present was stunned. The third generation is here. Even the masked man, Danzo, and Orochimaru were a little moved. It seemed that even they did not expect that the third generation would come in person, but think about it, if you don't see it with your own eyes, how can you feel at ease? Well, I did not expect things to develop to this point. A heavy sigh was heard in the silent night. Then, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Qianye, with his back to the masked man, Danzo, and Orochimaru. He was wearing a black tight combat uniform, was not tall, and had a small mustache on his chin. the third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen. Even in such a situation, his face was still as kind and generous as before. If you don't know, you would really think he is a good guy. But only those who really understand the truth will know the horror hidden behind this smile. He said to Qianye, "Qianye, take them all back. I will declare this to be a special incident, and redemarcate the area for the Uchiha clan, giving you enough power. Konoha and the Uchiha clan are one and inseparable. Everything that happened tonight was just a misunderstanding. I promise that this was not my intention. I will forgive you for what you said tonight and what you planned to do before. Uchiha is one of the two major families that founded Konoha. What can't we sit down and talk about? Misunderstand? Is the extermination of the clan also a misunderstanding?" Qianye said with a smile. Even at this point, the third generation still wanted to solve the problem with words. Go back. Can he really go back? Since the moment the third generation decided to take action against the Uchiha clan, everything has been irreversible. Verbal coping is just a delaying tactic. There will be many ways to interfere in the future. The Uchiha clan members may not think of these, but they know who to listen to. Qianye will not harm them, and he has enough ability to lead them. All they have to do is support and not make trouble, and that's enough. Chapter 66. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Showdown. Explain the resolution. The third generation looked at Qianye and didn't say much. He then looked at the group of Uchiha clan members behind Qianye and said, "What about you? Are you also going to follow Uchiha Qianye and leave? Those who wish to stay, come to my side. I promise to forgive you, save your lives, and treat you well. What I don't want is to be an enemy of Konoha and me. You can choose what to do, don't be stubborn." At the end, his words were already filled with murderous intent. The Uchiha people couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. The third Hokage and Danzo were both outstanding ninjas of the older generation, and their strength was unfathomable. Orochimaru and the others also knew him. He was one of the three ninjas of Konoha back then. As early as several years ago, his strength was not weaker than his teacher, the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. Now, after so many years, his strength is immeasurable. In addition, there is a masked man. They have never seen him before. The strength of the masked man is also immeasurable, but he can be with Danzo. That the person standing with Orochimaru is definitely not a simple person. He should not be underestimated. In other words, the other side has four super strong men. Uchiha Qianye, can he still hold on? Although they, the 227, have just witnessed Qianye's extraordinary ability, they still have some doubts in their hearts when facing such a strong enemy. After all, the enemy they are facing is too strong. Tonight is extremely dangerous, worthy of being the night of the Uchiha clan extermination. However, this does not mean that they have to surrender and choose to stay with the third generation. If it was before, they might still be deceived by the third generation's appearance, but now, Qianye has already torn off the third generation's disguise. How can they be fooled again, since no matter what choice you make, the worst result is death? Then why don't they choose to take a chance? This belief appeared in the minds of the Uchiha people. We won't give in, stop dreaming. He has been planning to exterminate our Uchiha clan since the beginning, and now he says he will keep us safe. Don't believe his lies. The Uchiha clan members expressed their attitude. During the whole process, Qianye waited without saying a word. He didn't want to interfere with the decision of these people, because, if they can't even see through such simple rhetoric, they are too stupid. It's useless for him to have so many stupid people. They will die if they die. However, fortunately, these Uchiha clan members did not seem to make the wrong choice. Seeing this, the expression on the face of the third generation gradually became cold. It seems that you guys really want to be the enemy of Konoha. Do you want to leave so badly? That depends on whether you have the ability to do it. He half closed his eyes, and changed his usual kind and benevolent appearance. He seemed to have become a different person, full of murderous intent. Danzo stood behind the third generation at the right time. The masked man and Orochimaru stood there with their arms folded across their chests, looking like they were watching the fun. They and Konoha were originally in a mutually beneficial relationship. Rather than being friends, perhaps it would be more appropriate to be enemies. On the other side, the Uchiha clan members also stood with Qianye. They looked resolute, and were ready to fight to the death. You don't need to fight in this battle. Qianye said calmly, revealing extraordinary confidence in his words. He was going to fight against the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen and the leader of the root organization, Danzo, by himself, but, back off. The Uchiha clansmen were about to say something when they were interrupted by Qianye. In this level of battle, you can't help at all, you will only increase casualties. After saying that, he directly used a wood escape tree wall to temporarily isolate the Uchiha clan members to prevent them from being affected by the subsequent war. Then, he strode forward. Danzo, can you see the ninjutsu performed by Uchiha Qianye? The third-generation Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen narrowed his eyes slightly, as if there was a gleam of light flowing. Yes. Danzo nodded, his face more solemn. It's the wood release of the first Hokage. I can't believe that there is someone in the Uchiha clan who has mastered wood release and has researched it to this extent. As early as when he saw the entire Uchiha settlement turned into a forest in an instant, he recognized that this was the wood release technique. It's just that he hasn't seen it with his own eyes, so he was somewhat lucky, but now, he can finally be sure, this is definitely wood release. He has studied wood release for who knows how many years, and no one knows it better than him. There is no way he can make a mistake. The third Hokage's expression also changed slightly. He slowly exhaled a breath, and said in a deep voice, since ancient times, there has never been such a person who possesses both wood release and Sharingan. The first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, swept the world with his wood release, and no one could stop him. He was called the God of Ninja by the ninjas. The Uchiha clan's Sharingan was no worse, and countless heroes have emerged since ancient times, especially Uchiha Madara, who can be compared with Hashirama Senju. But now, these two extremely powerful bloodline boundaries have appeared on one person at the same time, which is really surprising, so we must kill him to prevent future troubles. Danzo's eyes revealed a strong murderous intent, as fierce and vicious as a wild beast. We must not give him the opportunity to continue growing, otherwise he is destined to become a thorn in the side of our Konoha. The third Hokage didn't say much, as if he agreed with Danzo's words. To read the exciting novels, go to Faloo Novel Network. Behind them, the Masked Man and Orochimaru were also watching closely. Obviously, they were also very curious about Qianye's wood release. After all, this is the bloodline limit of the God of Ninja. Qianye walked in front of the third Hokage and Danzo. The third Hokage looked at Qianye. Are you really going to be stubborn? It's not too late to regret now. You have great talent and are the hope for the future of Konoha. Stay, I will not consider handing you over to Union Village or even going to war with them. I will do my best to help you reach a higher level. I am old. In the near future, Konoha will still need young and promising ninjas like you to take on the responsibility. By that time, with your ability, it may not be impossible for you to sit in my position. His voice was deep and generous. A few simple words were full of persuasion. He directly threw out the gimmick that he might become Hokage in the future. In this way, he wanted to keep Qianye, but is this possible? In this regard, Qianye only wanted to say two words, haha. If it was a simple teenager, he might have been fooled by the third generation, but who is Qianye? As a time traveler, his actual mental age has long surpassed the surface age. What's more, he knew all the development history of the Hokage and knew clearly that it was impossible for an Uchiha clan member to become the Hokage. It's not enough for the third generation to just say a word on the surface. It's not that Qianye's strength is enough to convince everyone. The entire Konoha, from the top to the bottom, has deep-rooted prejudices against Uchiha, which is difficult to reverse even if he was as powerful as Uchiha Madara. So what? Could he be Hokage? If he wants to deceive Qianye, he has to make up a more realistic lie. Not to mention, Qianye is not very interested in the position of Hokage. It is true that Konoha is the #1 ninja village in the world, but there are also many troubles, and Qianye hates trouble. Seeing that Qianye didn't say a word, the third generation didn't say much, but it was obvious that there was a bit more coldness on his face. If you don't obey, I will kill you here. Behind the sandai, Danzo's cold voice came, two people, one bright and one dark, one represents the glory of Konoha, and the other represents the darkness of Konoha. One is hypocritical, and the other is dirty. Kill me. Qianye chuckled and crossed his arms, just you guys. His words were full of contempt. Danzo snorted coldly. This was the first time in all these years that he was looked down upon. With a flash of his body, he disappeared from the spot. When he appeared again, he was already in front of Qianye. Danzo held a kunai in his hand and stabbed it fiercely at Qinye's throat. The cold light was filled with murderous intent, and the speed and momentum of thunder. It was really hard to imagine that Danzo, who was already not young, could have such an amazing offensive. Orochimaru, who was watching the battle, had his pupils shrank and murmured, "I didn't expect that this old thing actually had this kind of." However, he stopped abruptly before he finished speaking. He opened his mouth slightly, and his purple snake pupils were full of disbelief. The third generation stared with his eyes wide open, shocked, although the masked man looked as calm as ever. His clenched fists showed that he was also very shocked. In the center of the battlefield, Uchiha Qianye grabbed Danzo's neck and lifted him up high like a chicken. If you don't reach a certain level, you can't even see what just happened. You only saw that Danzo was grabbed by Qianye and lifted up as soon as he appeared. Only a few Kage-level strongmen saw everything clearly. What Qianye did was actually very simple. It was just an ordinary action. The key is only one word, that is fast. It was too fast. Danzo's offensive and speed were already very fierce. Even among Kage-level strongmen, it can be regarded as first class, but compared with Qianye, it was still not enough. Danzo took the initiative and suddenly attacked, thinking that he could seize the initiative. Who would have thought that it was just an egg hitting a rock? Qinye's face seemed to be smiling, thinking of the previous bold words. Even a thick-skinned person like Danzo couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed, after seeing Qinye's would release. He didn't have the confidence to win in ninjutsu, so he wanted to break through in taijutsu. Although he knew that Kuroki Raiga, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, died under Qinye's taijutsu, but he still wanted to try. After all, his taijutsu was not bad at all, but now it seems that he has brought shame upon himself. Chapter 67. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Kill Danzo. Izanagi. Qianye pinched Danzo's hand and gently exerted force. Soon, there were sounds of bones breaking, accompanied by Danzo's screams of pain. Stop. The third Hokage couldn't bear to see Danzo get into trouble. Several shurikens suddenly appeared in his hands and he threw them at Qianye. Then he used a flash body technique and disappeared from the spot. He was going to rescue Danzo, facing several shurikens that were shooting at him. Qianye didn't dodge or evade, nor did he use any ninjutsu. Without thinking, he directly took Danzo in his hand and pushed him up. So. The sound of sharp energy piercing into the flesh. Danzo's muffled groans rang out together. It has to be said that the third Hokage's shuriken technique is really good. It's fast, accurate and ruthless, hitting the vital points. You don't need to look too much, just listen to the screams to know how powerful it is. However, fortunately, Danzo's body is strong enough. The third Hokage, who was originally relying on the flash body technique and was approaching quickly, was suddenly startled when he saw this situation, and his eyes twitched. This, I only thought about how to act quickly, but I forgot to defend myself. Danzo should be okay. In Qianye's hands, Danzo's body gradually softened and completely lost his vitality, but Qianye suddenly his brows were slightly furrowed, and then a faint smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. Then he suddenly threw Danzo's body to the ground. There was only a loud bang, accompanied by bursts of dust. Danzo's body was almost completely broken and shattered. Blood and broken bones were everywhere. There was also an unpleasant fishy smell. 26th Group. Danzo gone. The third generation was a little unbelievable. He knew Danzo's ability too well. Since childhood, they have been disciples of the second generation Hokage, Senju Tobirama. They have always been in sync, and their strength in all aspects can be said to be evenly matched. When competing for the position of Hokage, Danzo was also his biggest opponent. Now he died without even a single encounter. Doesn't this mean it would be difficult for him to survive a few moves in front of Qianye? Originally, the third generation was still thinking about how to get closer and save Danzo, but now, seeing the strength displayed by Qianye, he hesitated and was afraid. There was silence in the direction of the Uchiha clan, followed by a very intense and loud cheer. Good. 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 Well done. finally killed that bastard Danzo. I've disliked him for a long time. Well done, Qianye. For so many years, Danzo has been the biggest enemy of the Uchiha clan. The Uchiha clan has long hated Danzo. Now that they see their biggest enemy being killed by Qianye, how can they not be excited? However, at this moment, a coughing sound came from behind the third generation, cough cough cough. The sound was not loud, and the Uchiha clan might not have heard it, but the several Kage-level strongmen present were all well-known figures in the ninja world. Such people could not hide even the slightest sound from their ears. Moreover, now that the war was imminent and at a critical moment, they were even more vigilant. Several people looked back. They saw that behind the third generation, there was an extra person who had appeared without knowing when. There were circles of white bandages wrapped around his head, and even his left eye was covered. The only remaining eye was full of ferocity and sinisterness. Danzo. Danzo, who had just been slowly shot by the third generation's shuriken and thrown to death by Qianye, was actually alive. The Uchiha clan's original excitement, and revenge stopped in an instant. They stared at Danzo's figure in a daze, their faces full of disbelief. This. How could this be? Are they dazzled? The expressions of the third generation and Orochimaru changed, and they were even a little dazed. The surprise in his expression was even greater than when he saw Qianye perform would release and capture Danzo directly at the first sight. The dead cannot be resurrected. Danzo was clearly killed, but in the blink of an eye, he was alive again. This is a bit too unreasonable. Only the masked man was thoughtful, as if he had guessed the mystery. As for Qianye, he was not surprised by all this. In fact, he was the first to know it, not only because of the extremely powerful insight of the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, it was also because the ninjutsu used by Danzo was his Mangekyo Sharingan pupil technique, Izanagi. An ultimate pupil technique that can reverse the situation of the battle. As a time traveler, he certainly knew that Danzo knew this ninjutsu, to perform this ninjutsu, you must have the Sharingan. Danzo did not start studying this Sharingan secret technique until he collected enough Sharingans after the night of the Uchiha clan extermination. Long before the Uchiha clan extermination plan, he already had the Sharingan and learned this secret technique. Moreover, he used this secret technique to attack Uchiha Shisui unexpectedly and took away one of Uchiha Shisui's Mangekyo Sharingan. Just now, when Danzo was still in his hand, he had already noticed that Danzo had used this ninjutsu. Are you okay? The third generation stared at Qianye and said to Danzo behind him. Danzo snorted coldly, thanks to you. Obviously, he was still upset about the third generation's negligence and direct attack just now, which resulted in not hurting Qianye but seriously injuring him. If he hadn't mastered the ultimate eye technique of Izanagi, he would have died. To read the exciting novel, go to Faloo Novel Network. The third generation was stunned and didn't say much. The two stood together and faced Uchiha Qianye. Danzo slowly opened the bandage on his arm. Little by little, his arm was exposed. For so many years, no one has been able to make him use his real skills for a long time. It was a white arm that was a little bit unpresentable. It was very similar to the skin color of the white Zetsu that often appeared beside the masked man. On that white arm were 5 open blood-red Sharingan. At first glance, it looked very scary. This is the Sharingan. It's the Sharingan. In the direction of the Uchiha clan members quickly recognized that the eyes on Danzo's arm were the Uchiha clan's unique bloodline, the Sharingan. So many Sharingans. How many Uchiha clan members did Danzo kill? Could it be that this is the real reason why Danzo has been targeting the Uchiha clan and wants to kill them all? For a person who covets their Sharingan and slaughters their fellow brothers, looking at Danzo, every Uchiha clan member's eyes are full of hatred. The eyes of the third generation are also full of surprise. He thought he was in control of everything, but he didn't expect that Danzo had done so many things behind the scenes that he didn't know. Orochimaru had a proud look on his face, and his thin and long tongue was gently sucking like a snake. This is a perfect piece of art. Yes, this arm is the gift he gave to Danzo. It is made of the cells of the god of ninja, Hashirama Senju. It is also inlaid with the extremely powerful Sharingan of the Uchiha clan. Originally, the Sharingan belonged only to the Uchiha clan, and ordinary bloodlines could not control such a powerful force. However, Hashirama's cells can just make up for this shortcoming and reduce the consumption of the Sharingan on the ninja's body. the perfect fusion of Hashirama's cells and the Sharingan, just thinking about it is enough to make people extremely excited. What kind of work of art is this? It's still a little short of being complete, so it's a bit early to use it now, but... Danzo sneered and said slowly, it's not bad to try out the power in advance. He looked at Qianye, you can't kill me, I'm unkillable. 5 Sharingan, 6 less than when he fought Uchiha Sasuke later, that means 6 fewer chances to revive. Qianye's expression was a bit playful. Ordinary people might really be fooled by Danzo, but he is different, not to mention that he is a time traveler. Just say that he has simulated so many times in the system, how can he not know what Danzo 410 is capable of? Can't kill. Kill a few more times and see if you can die. Without further ado, just do it. Now everyone is in Qianye's would release sea of trees. Everything about them is completely under Qianye's control. Every tree and branch is an extension of Qianye's torso and is controlled by Qianye. It's just a thought. Under the control of Qianye's chakra, countless vines and branches began to wind and entwine towards the third generation and Danzo. As for Orochimaru and the masked man who had not yet joined the battle, he ignored them for the time being. Vines, branches, and leaves were woven into a huge net. The third generation and Danzo were covered in it. Just now, Qianye used this trick to kill nearly 100 ninjas from the root organization, but now, it seems to be a little useless in front of the third generation and Danzo. The third generation and Danzo used their agile body movements to dodge. Although they are old and can't be considered young in any way, they are still very agile. There is no sign of old age and frailty. Fire style, great flame technique. Wind style vacuum wave. As soon as the 2 Kage-level warriors made their move, they directly took out their best ninjutsu. One used fire style, the other used wind style. Wind helps the fire, and fire borrows the power of wind. It was just 2 B-level ninjutsu used together, but it was not inferior to the power of ordinary A-level ninjutsu, and even stronger. Those vines and branches were destroyed and turned into ashes before they got close. Qianye saw that this move could no longer threaten the third generation and Danzo, and changed his strategy. The winding and entwined branches and vines disappeared. The whole forest became very quiet. However, this situation did not relax the third generation and Danzo at all. Instead, they became more nervous. They knew that after a short period of calm, what was waiting for them would be more ferocious waves. And they must not take it lightly. All this has just begun. Chapter 68. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Forced. It's just wishful thinking. Whoosh. 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 Suddenly, there were bursts of air-breaking sounds in the air. Some of them sounded like the sound of kunai and shuriken being shot, but there were some obvious differences. A moment later, Danzo and the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen both frowned, because they already knew what was coming. It was densely packed, countless branches and vines, but it was completely different from the previous ones. The previous ones were more like tough ropes, while the current ones were straight and sharp. Arrows, they were tougher and stronger, carrying extremely powerful strength. Every arrow carried a very strong murderous intent. Fire style, great flame technique. Wind escape vacuum wave. The same ninjutsu as before. The third generation and Danzo wanted to resist in the same way, but how could it be so easy? Since Qianye chose to use this ninjutsu, he naturally had his reasons. Under the blessing of wind escape, the power of fire escape increased exponentially. Just like before, everything was turned into ashes and isolated, but soon, he found something wrong. He also knew why Qianye did this. Qianye used 2 seemingly similar ninjutsu in succession, but in fact there were great differences. Compared with the vines and branches that were entangled before, now they are split into a whole. Moreover, because of the reduction in size, their speed and strength are even stronger. This means that in order to destroy them, more ninjutsu need to be released and more chakra consumed. We can't go on like this. The Sandaime narrowed his eyes and said in a deep voice. He didn't live in vain at such an old age. He had experienced the Ninja World War and had very rich combat experience. The same was true for Danzo. He let out a long breath and said, would release sea of trees. All the trees here are Uchiha's weapons. In such a large forest, the arrows are endless, and we are just wasting chakra. To break the impasse, we must destroy the entire forest. The third generation hesitated for a moment and nodded heavily. It's easy to say that it's easy to destroy the entire forest. This is a forest that covers the entire Uchiha family settlement. It's easy to imagine how much chakra it would take to destroy such a large area. However, it's time to cut it off. Continuing like this is just wasting chakra in vain, fighting like a trapped beast, which has no effect at all, and will be consumed to death. It's better to be straightforward and solve it. Once and for all, fire style fire dragon flame bomb. Wind escape vacuum great ball. The third Hokage and Danzo showed their true abilities. One powerful ninjutsu after another was performed, bursting out towards the surroundings with incomparably terrifying power. This time their target was not only the arrows shot at them, but the entire forest. Before long, under one powerful ninjutsu after another, the entire forest was ablaze. The entire night was illuminated as if it were daytime. The forest was gone. Qianye's would escape sea of trees was also broken, but the price of breaking this ninjutsu was really not light. The chakra of the third Hokage and Danzo disappeared. Nearly half of his strength was used up, and because of his advanced age, his physical strength was not as good as that of a young man, which also showed his disadvantage. Danzo's head was covered with fine beads of sweat, and he was breathing heavily. The face of the third generation was not good either. Only now did they really know what kind of monster Qianye was. No wonder. Even a talented person like Uchiha Itachi was defeated by Qianye. What made them even more afraid was that Qianye only used the ninjutsu of Sea of Trees from beginning to end, and he forced them to this point. It was really terrible. After all, it was just the Sea of Trees. If it was the world of trees, this jutsu alone would be enough to trap several Kage-level warriors. Qianye murmured, wood style, world of trees is an advanced version of the Sea of Trees. It has a larger range and more powerful capabilities. It also consumes more chakra. Even for Qianye's current exaggerated chakra volume, it is a huge consumption. It cannot be used as a regular ninjutsu for the time being. The ninjutsu was broken, but it did not affect his mood at all. It was too difficult to rely on the Sea of Trees to defeat the three Kage-level warriors, the third Hokage and Danzo, unless he used another golden ability, the Lord of Elements, to increase the power of the original ninjutsu by 300%. It might be possible, however. Qianye did not want to reveal too much strength for the time being. To solve the current situation, wood style, plus his Otsutsuki physique, and Sharingan are enough. Orochimaru, I agreed to the conditions you discussed with me last time. As long as you help me kill Uchiha Qianye. Danzo said to Orochimaru behind him. The power displayed by Qianye made him afraid. Considering Qianye's young age, there is still a huge room for growth in the future. If he is allowed to die alive, no one can say whether Uchiha Qianye will grow into the next ninja god or Uchiha Madara. Even surpass the first generation Hokage and Uchiha Madara. After all, there is only one person who possesses both would release and Sharingan in thousands of years. He absolutely cannot tolerate such a person to live. He. Orochimaru laughed, and his strange snake eyes flashed with excitement. The condition he proposed was, of course, Uchiha Qianye's body. He had long been eyeing the Uchiha clan's Sharingan. He chose the Uchiha clan's genius ninja Uchiha Itachi. To read exciting novels, go to Faloo Novel Network. However, it didn't take long for him to find a better choice, that is Uchiha Qianye. He possessed both would release and Sharingan. If he could have such a body, what a terrifying height he would reach. I'll go. Orochimaru said to the masked man, and walked forward to stand with the third Hokage and Danzo. The masked man did not stop him and did not show any dissatisfaction. This is the Akatsuki organization. In addition to completing the daily tasks assigned to them, they have a very high degree of freedom. Whether Orochimaru helps the third Hokage or Danzo is his own business. The masked man certainly does not care. Teacher Sarutobi, I never thought that we would fight side by side one day. Orochimaru said to the third Hokage jokingly. The third Hokage glanced at his former favorite student and said nothing more. Let's solve the problem first, and then we can talk about the past. Danzo said coldly. Orochimaru laughed. If you want to solve the problem, you don't have to use force. He took a few steps forward and said to Qianye, Uchiha Qianye, I admit that you are very strong. If you want to leave, it will be difficult for us to keep you. But at this point, Orochimaru paused for a moment, his face becoming a little more grim. It's easy for you to leave, but what about these Uchiha clan members? We can't do anything to you, but they, hee. Before he finished speaking, the meaning was already very clear. He wanted to use the lives of these Uchiha people as a threat to force Qianye to surrender. Hearing Orochimaru's words, the third generation and Danzo frowned. Yes. Why didn't they think of it? The third generation might not be able to say such a thing because of his reputation, but Danzo is different. Danzo is the root of Konoha and the dark side of Konoha. The third generation can't say such things, but Danzo can, and in their opinion, Qianye must value these Uchiha people very much, otherwise, with Qianye's ability, who can stop him from leaving? These Uchiha people are Qianye's weak points. They should have thought of it a long time ago, but unfortunately, the Uchiha people also heard the threat in Orochimaru's words. These bastards from Konoha, are they resorting to trickery when they can't win? They are as shameless as ever. Qianye, don't pay attention to them, we can protect ourselves. Even if we die, as long as you are alive, our Uchiha clan will continue. The people of the Uchiha clan were shouting indignantly. Orochimaru's shameless behavior obviously angered everyone. Qianye still looked normal. Death. What he wanted was the Uchiha clan who could help him in the future. What's more, after what happened today, the Uchiha clan has been very convinced of him. How could he watch the members of the Uchiha clan die like this? However, don't you think it's a bit naive to force him to submit in this way? Qianye chuckled and said lightly, if you kill one Uchiha, I will kill 10 people from Konoha. If you exterminate the Uchiha clan, I will exterminate Konoha as well. His voice was as calm as ever, but full of domineering. No one would doubt the truth of Qianye's words, because everyone knew, he definitely had the strength to do what he said. Orochimaru was stunned, as if he had not expected Qianye to say such a thing. He didn't care at all about the life or death of Konoha. However, Danzo and the third generation, at this time, the third generation and Danzo both had gloomy faces. There is no doubt that Qianye's words brought them great deterrence, let alone the previous ninjutsu. How many people in the entire Konoha can withstand the sea of trees? Needless to say, Orochimaru also knew the choices of Danzo and the third generation. They will not take the entire Konoha as a bet. Orochimaru smiled and shook his head. Alas, it seems that we have to do it. Then I will show you the legendary forbidden technique, impure world reincarnation. After saying that, he began to make hand seals. Then, 3 coffins slowly rose from the ground. The coffin in the middle had 1 written on it. The one on the left had 2 written on it, the one on the right had 4 written on it. Snap. With a crisp sound, the lids of the coffins with 1 and 2 written on them opened. The other coffin returned to the ground. 2 figures walked out of it. Qianye, who had experienced countless simulations, of course knew who was in the 2 coffins. The first generation Hokage, Senju Hashirama, known as the god of ninja. The second generation Hokage, Senju Tobirama, known as the master of forbidden techniques.